What's up, gays, straights, and other days? It's Malia. I'm here with Sinners and Saints, a fun little game that I saw on itchio with the LGBTQ tag and the psychhorror tag, which means it's probably in for a good time. I'm trying to get back into playing more itchio games, and this one looks pretty good. I think it's probably a visual novel, but we're gonna see. So, let's start with a new game. Ooh, okay. So I guess this is a set of trigger warnings, I suppose. So go over those at your leisure. Feel free to pause and take care of yourselves. And of course, please bear this in mind while you continue. The heart symbol means a loving choice. Choosing it doesn't automatically make your character attracted to the other. There's romance. Oh no. I'm gonna ruin this game. You can have a completely platonic relationship with them and your character can still be aromantic or asexual and flirt if you wish to. Oh, that's so cool. I'm not ace, but hey, it's an option. All right, let's fucking go. Oh, is this just text-based? Huh, all right. I'm into it. Prologue. Something was wrong. Darkness surrounded you and your body felt too heavy, cramped and numb at the same time. Your heart pounded in your chest despite the fact that you only just woke up. Nothing was in your room, no one was there, and yet your brain screamed danger, ignoring the reality. You couldn't move a muscle, you could barely breathe. An invisible weight pressed down on your chest, crushing it, forcing tears out of your eyes. Panic seized your body, but you saw no danger around, only darkness covering the familiar surroundings of your room. You wanted to yell, scream for help, call for your parents, but it felt as if a clawed hand clenched around your throat, silencing you, choking every sound that might escape you. You could do nothing but lay in your bed, unmoving, hoping whatever seized control over your body would disappear soon. It felt like hours and seconds at the same time before something finally changed. You saw it. You saw the weight on your chest, a twisted image of a cat, too big to be the animal. It looked more like a human stretching a cat's face onto their own. The big, glowing eyes stared deeply into yours. The monster opened its mouth full of sharp, inhuman teeth. It was sitting on your chest. Its small, twisted form was pressing you down, its clawed hand wrapped tightly around your throat, the other holding your jaw, forcing eye contact. The sheer look on its face paralyzed you, robbing you of your ability to move. Such a shame this will be wasted, the monster croaked, but you heard no regret in its voice. Your nightmares are delicious, it hissed, and the red tongue brushed your cheek. Primal panic resonated in your head, trying to force you to run, to fight, to scream, but you were helpless, vulnerable, at the mercy of a creature so broken it looked as if it might crumble on its own. Such a shame. And then... Oh, okay. Kid? Your father's voice snapped you back into reality. Light from the corridor bled into your room and suddenly you could move. There was no one and nothing in your bedroom. No monster, only you, drenched in sweat, with your heart pounding. All of your limbs were shaking and you couldn't even muster a single word. Your father carefully approached your bed, turning on the nightlight beside you. Everything was still hazy, and sounds were either too loud or too quiet. He was saying something to you, something that sounded almost like your name. And we've got a list of names that we can choose from. Some of these are actually all of them are pretty cool. I'm gonna butcher these. Kamari, Nuru, Young, I'm gonna say, because the E-O sound typically makes an sound in Korean from what I remember. Nuka, oh, that's actually cute. Kaden, Neo, Ira, and Arya. That name specifically makes my heart happy. But we also have the option to type our own name in. And our name is Mao. Do I just hit enter? I do. I wasn't expecting that kind of customization. All right, so it seems like it's kind of like a choice-based, text-based game. All right, I'm on board with this. I like this. All right. Are you okay, Mal? Your father asked, his eyes carefully inspecting your trembling form. The question was merely a formality. It was obvious you were not okay. You were terrified. Your mind was in shambles, trying to make sense of what just happened. Bad dream? Not trusting your voice, you settled for a shaky nod. Your father hummed quietly. Questions tore inside your head as the two of you sat in silence. Why did he come to check on you if you made no noise? Why was he awake in the middle of the night, still dressed in his work clothes? Was the creature real, or just a figment of your stressed mind? I'll leave the light on. Do you need anything else? He asked, with a voice so deprived of emotion it was almost painful to hear. Mal? That's not my dad, is it? Uh-oh, okay. You shook your head. You wouldn't dare ask him for more. You didn't want anything. You wanted him to stay. Oh, I don't want him to stay. If he's devoid of emotion, I don't think something's right here. You didn't want to ask him for more. He already helped. I'm going to go with you wouldn't dare ask him for more. Because that sounds like me. His lips pressed into a thin line as he stood up from your bed. All right, try to get some sleep, kid. He did not spare you a glance as you left the room, leaving you alone in the darkness of your bedroom. The bedside lamp barely helped, but it was better than nothing. Slowly, the trembling in your body ceased and your heart calmed down. Paranoia crawled back to the corner of your mind, allowing you to feel at least partially safe. Once again, you let out a deep breath. You did not notice before that the fear from the nightmare had you holding it in. And we got some options. It was just a nightmare, nothing more. If it happened again, handle it better. What is the worst that could happen, honestly? You're just glad that Dad checked on you? Am I crafting my relationship with my father with this as well? Oh god, this fucking heartbeat. Sorry, the music also was playing this whole time, but I didn't realize it wasn't tracking, so it's here now. It's really fucking cool. It's just been mostly this kind of, maybe a piano or a synthesizer? Some kind of like rhythm instrument of some sort, and then a heartbeat over it. So, you haven't really missed much in terms of audio, I promise. Anyway, how do we want to handle this? You know what? If this happened again, you'd handle it better. You drifted back to sleep before dawn started to set. You didn't remember the moment you laid back down or when your eyelids started to feel heavy. At one moment, you were awake in the darkness, and the next, light blinded you entirely. There were only 2 times in your life that made you question your reality like this. The first was the nightmare that rid you of control over your body when you were only 15. It was not that uncommon for you to struggle with sleep at that time. The second time was the first night you came back to Deadwood after college. The day itself was a blur of faces and words, people that escaped your mind for the entire time you studied out of town. Then it was night you remembered. That night was burned into your mind for years to come. Oh god, it's getting faster, okay. That night. It didn't start in a way that would make you suspicious. No, it was normal. You said goodnight to your parents, you went to bed, turned off the lights. It was the deafening silence that woke you up. The kind that made the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Deadwood, after all, was surrounded by a forest. It was downright unusual not to hear any insects or animals. Hazily, you stood up from your bed, nearly falling over in the process. Your head felt too heavy, and your limbs felt like they were made from cotton. Supporting yourself on the walls, you made your way down the hall. The darkness did not make the task any easier, as your feet dragged over the wooden panels. A peculiar, unidentified sound reached your ears. Something similar to an electric hum, but somehow alive. It only became louder as you came closer to your parents' bedroom. You were just about to call out to them, when the sight of what was happening strangled any noise from you. Something was staring back at you. Despite the humanoid form, it couldn't possibly be a person. The teeth were too sharp and there were too many of them. The eyes were dead and hollow, the limbs ridiculously broken and stretched to belong to a living being. The face, eerily similar to that of an old woman, deeply unsettled you. Your brain screamed that whatever it was a predator, and you were its prey. You could hardly catch the sight of your parents in their bed, unmoving, not breathing. The realization that you were next to join them dawned on you. The creature moved, and the darkness swallowed you. But you were not dead. The nightmare always ended on that, and that was the last thing you remembered. Oh! Was that fucking... What is that? I think that's birds? I don't know. That's genuinely scary. Okay. You woke up in the hospital with no big injuries, only a concussion from when your head hit the floor. Apparently there was a gas leak in the house. Your parents succumbed to it, but you miraculously survived. Your best friend, Roan, found you and likely saved your life. Lucky me, I guess. Jesus, okay. So I'm an orphan immediately, and I can gender them? We'll go with non-binary, why not? They were always someone you could count on. Although, admittedly, you seemed to drift apart over the years. First it was college, then the loss of your parents. It seemed like life could not let you catch a single break. Roan understood, of course. They always did. Forever understanding, gentle, caring. That was what made you love Roan, that you could never wish for a better friend, got on your nerves at times. We're gonna say you could never wish for a better friend. I know that the heart doesn't always necessarily mean like romantic, but I want to keep our best friend as our best friend. For right now, anyway. We'll see what happens. You could never wish for a better friend. In all honesty. Rome was your rock during the hardest of times. They were there for you when your parents passed and when you were still finding your footing back in Deadwood. There was not a time in which you'd have to go through something alone, and you appreciated it. You could only wish that Luos found you to be a good friend too. Then again, you had more important, more pressing matters on your mind now. It's been some time since the passing of your parents, and you managed to settle in Deadwood for good, it seems. Deadwood. And we're still in the How long is the prologue? I appreciate all the world building, but damn, this is really well written out. Deadwood. A charming little town if one would consider horror charming. Isolated from the outside world by thick woods, a deep river, and a looming mountain. Known for an uncomfortably large number of unalivements. Sorry, I know that seems insensitive, but otherwise YouTube will go insane if I say the real word, but it's right there. You know what I mean. In unconventional ways, and an even bigger number of people being injured in most freak accidents. Currently, the title of the most inconvenient dead fucker was held by Dr. Piper Hayes, who decided that walking towards a grizzly bear that got onto his property was the way to go. His poor widower was still traumatized from witnessing it. Deadwood was probably the only town in existence where it was no shock to anyone that a perfectly well gas line suddenly exploded, injuring only one specific resident. Me, I'm assuming. Or that someone walked around with injuries they had no memory of ever getting. For the locals, it was just a regular Monday. For you, it was a headache since you were responsible for the well-being of said locals, as the highest-ranking detective. I'm a detective? Okay, I read about that, very briefly in the description, but I completely forgot about that. Okay, maybe you were the only detective, but Captain did mention someone else would be promoted or transferred in soon. He said that the day you got your promotion. He also said that every other time you asked him about it for about a year now. With how few people belonged to the station, it was no big surprise. Most lacked proper training to be promoted or had families to take care of. Well, I wouldn't say I'm very fond of it. Seems some very traumatizing things happened here, but I don't think I hate it either because I decided to settle here. I think number 3 is the most realistic. I like Deadwood despite its weirdness, but I wish I could move somewhere else and see the world. You know what this reminds me of? Actually, and I'm sorry I'm starting and stopping a little bit, but I just have to say, there's this very old series on YouTube. I don't know if the creator has continued and moved on to bigger and greater things, but it was by this creator, I believe, called Katie Towell, called Children Are Scary. That's what this shit reminds me of. This gives me that kind of vibe, but I like Deadwood. Deadwood was fascinating to you, even when you were a child. Who wouldn't want to grow up in an eerie, secluded town surrounded by forests and mystery? Ghost stories were your regular campfire tales. You knew more urban legends than anyone, and after living here, you were sure you'd handle any craziness coming your way. After all, here a wolf attack on a full moon was not exactly news, more of a regular Tuesday. You had more paranormal stories than anyone in the state, probably. If you had ever left Deadwood, you could make a fortune writing books about them, or make a comedy special. You dreamed about leaving the town, though. Despite the creepy charm, Deadwood lacked basic things like clubs, shopping centers. You wanted to meet new people and maybe try for a job that would put your degree to good use. If we're going by my degree, which is a theater degree, I guess go to New York and see what happens. But maybe have a stable thing on the side. I mean, you didn't mind living here, but still. You never thought you'd become Deadwood's detective. After all, in college you studied psychology? No, I did not. I took one AP psych class and that was enough for me. I was not smart enough for it. Computer science I was interested in, but it's a lot of math. Creative arts? Close. Law? No. I'm too stupid for law school and also don't have the patience. I'm gonna say creative arts because that's the closest to my actual theater degree. You could still hear some of the officers snickering whenever they remember what you did in college. Thanks, guys. Magically, they forgot that you went through the same training they did and you were more competent at the same job they did, so much so you ended up in the detective role. But whenever a sketch was needed, suddenly everyone was grateful for your choices in college. I draw okay. I did a couple of my own Twitch emotes. I do okay. It was much easier to chase a suspect or find the crime scene when it wasn't drawn by someone with the artistic talent of a 3-year-old. Anyway, you looked into the mirror already dreading what sight would await you. Someday, you thought, I'm going to either not see myself there or I'll see someone behind me. It was a grim thing to keep in mind, but knowing Deadwood, it would not be the weirdest one. tragedy and death surrounded you, it was only logical that your mind would project horrors onto your reality. You stared at your own reflection. I get to pick my own eye color. Oh, sweet. Do you have shit brown? Nah, my eyes are very, very dark, so amber's too light. My eyes are not black, however. I know they look dark, but they're not black. They're closer to the dark chocolate, I promise. Dark chocolate eyes look back at you. Oh, and I get to pick my skin tone as well. Oh, nice. Shit, I don't even recognize some of these words, but I know for a fact that I have olive skin for the most part. Like, I'm a mixed kid, so skin tone's a little hard for me. Like, I have like yellow and red tones. So olive is, I guess, the closest. And maybe there'd be a closer skin tone if I knew what some of these words meant. But there are options. That's really nice. Okay. But olive skin, I think, is closest. Your hair was, well, you can see my hair. It's not black. It is brown, but it's a very dark brown. What is plum brown, actually? I'm gonna look that up. It's like a purplish brown. It's kind of close in a way. I don't exactly have like purplish tones, I don't think, but it's the closest since my hair isn't dyed. It's very much straight. It's very fluffy, but it's pretty straight. You keep it. It is short, thank you. I kinda, ooh, and a head covering option too. I don't. Well, this, but that's not what they mean. Oh, I love this. I don't know how much this matters, but I love the fact that they're giving us the options anyways. Your eyes wander to your body next, taking in the silhouette, every detail. And you can be happy about it down here, or you can be sad about it. Huh. Oh, and the disappointed one. Most of these have to do with like transitioning and surgeries and things like that. Oh, that's really good. And there's even like a cis option, which I am. You were cis, but the sight of your body still makes you unhappy. Well, yeah. There's also some body positive ones down here. After the years of hormones and the top surgery, you don't need surgery as an option. You can just be happy with your body, or you're just neutral about it. You were neither happy nor unhappy with how it looked. It was a body and it was doing its job. I'm gonna be honest here. I'm not gonna lie to you lot, but I love the fucking spectrum of options here. But me personally, I'm not a fan of this. I don't like the way that I look in general, and I'm working on it, but honestly, you grimace seeing your body. You were cis, but the sight of your body still makes you unhappy. Not a fan, but I'm working on it. It's about the details, however. Whenever you stood out from the crowd, treated your body like a canvas, or you kept it in its most natural state with little to no alterations. This is all additional customization of your main character. Click on the options to change them. Oh, that's cool. Well, I wear glasses, obviously, except for when I like to wear contacts. I don't have freckles. I don't wear piercings. Personally, they don't feel good on me. And yeah, I don't have tattoos. I do have scars, though. I have a scar on my chin and some scars, like, elsewhere. So that's correct. Click on the option to change what scars you have. Get one big scar running across your face. No, I don't. Ooh, there's also top surgery scars. This is really fucking inclusive. I kind of love that. I have little scars on me, but like not a million of them. And the closest that I have, and as far as the one that's like noticeable, is the one on my chin. You can't really see it because my mic's in the way. And this is like as close as it'll be, is like on my lips. So that's right. Just as you were leaving the house, you passed by the mirror hanging on the wall. For a second, you thought you just saw your parents, and the heart in your chest nearly jumped out of your ribcage. It happened from time to time. You were so used to seeing the two of them that your own reflection gave you a moment of shock. A lot of people said you were like the living ghost of your parents because of the resemblance. The elder folk would call you by their names on accident, although they always apologized profusely for it. Deadwood might be a grim place or a graveyard with houses, but the locals never wanted to cause pain to another person. Maybe it was because they knew that anyone who lived there already suffered enough. No one meant to be the drop that spilled from the chalice. You brushed off the memories and hurried to your car. It would be a bad first impression to be late to your own job and a meeting with your new partner. Captain informed you that today would be the day you get to meet your partner, the second detective in Deadwood. You knew little about them, only that they were not local, and so far managed to avoid every single person in town, since no one knew even how they looked like. For any other in town, it would probably raise a few eyebrows, but not here, not in Deadwood. In Deadwood, it was truly just a regular Monday. That might be wrong. We'll see. It is time to leave. Okay. Alright, a little weird music change. As you stepped out of the car, you noticed an old motorcycle standing across 2 parking spaces. No one in Deadwood owned a motorbike, you'd know. The roads were bumpy and old, and the amount of wildlife running across them made it nearly impossible to just drive a car, never mind a motorcycle. Well, this would be a nice, vintage dust collector, you thought as you entered the station. Judgy, judgy. You nodded at the officer at the desk, although they did not notice you, more interested in their black coffee. It was an early morning after all, so you couldn't blame them for being half asleep. Barely anyone was in, everyone either running late or already out on patrol. You recognized Quinn at their desk, the new hire still with enthusiasm for the job. You hadn't had much chance to speak with them, but from their reports you could tell they were a hard worker and very ambitious. Their face lit up as they saw you, half jumping across their desk. "You're here!" they exclaimed, in a voice way too cheery for someone who had to wake up at 6 a.m. on a cold morning. "I mean, of course you are, you're the detective, but I meant, never mind, good morning. And I get to pick. Ma'am, please, I am a ma'am, but detective's also an option as well, and you can do custom." I love that, but ma'am. The energy radiating from Quinn was almost too much for your tired mind. Maybe it was their young age. How old am I? Or maybe they actually had a good 8 hours of sleep, unlike you, but they looked ready to jump out of their own skin at any moment. They fidgeted with their fingers, constantly changed how they stood, played with their sleeves. You furrowed your brows, giving them a second glance. "Quinn," you started, catching the new hire's attention. "How much coffee did you have today?" Their face flushed as they nervously scratched the back of their head. "Just a few," you hummed, eyeing them suspiciously. "So, less than 3? The guilty look on Quinn's face was a dead giveaway. "It was 5, but it's not like it's gonna kill me, and I drank a lot of water." They tried, and groaned when your expression did not change. The officer looked even more embarrassed as their gaze fell. "I did sleep. I'm not unable to work, detective, I promise." You know what? I'm gonna play nice. I'm not gonna read out all the options anymore, because that's gonna take a while, but we're gonna be nice. You gave them a tired smile. "It's alright, Quinn. Just try to take care of yourself, okay?" Quinn looked up at you, positively surprised. "Am I not normally this nice?" "Okay." Their entire body relaxed in relief, and a small, grateful smile found its way on their lips. It's clear that your words brought them not only relief, but also calmed their nerves. As a detective, you had people looking up to you, whether you liked it or not. Quinn was one of those people. Your opinion and approval meant a lot to them. "Thank you, detective. It means a lot to me. I'll take care of myself better. Scout's honor." "Aw, Quinn," they promised, their hand rising to their chest. Knowing your coworkers, Quinn was most likely a tad overworked and tried their best to fit in with the old-timers. You yourself went through that, so you sympathized with the young officer. Least you could do is help them find their place and make sure they feel safe there. "It's good to hear. Now, I won't keep you from your work," you said, and gestured to the pile of the documents on their desk. Quinn's face flushed, and they shot you an apologetic smile, quickly gathering themselves to go back to the stacks of papers waiting for them. You had your own work waiting for you, in your office no less. The door was slightly ajar, which meant the captain was already inside. Captain Hayes. Captain Hayes, widower of the late Piper Hayes. Even before, the man rarely smiled and had a foul mood most of the year. After his husband died, however, it was like all of the colors and all light disappeared from the captain's world. He demanded more, expected more, and had little to no empathy for you or your coworkers. It did not get better with time. In all honesty, it seemed to get worse. The man became more dismissive, erratic. He never explained his decisions to anyone and dropped all attempts at basic courtesy. When you watched your superior wither away from lost love, it made you think of your own love life. And I guess I'm choosing not my sexuality, but my thoughts on, romancing? Personally, I'm both. You were interested in both the sexual aspect of relationships and the romance. Regardless, you had no time to even begin to think about such things. You had work to do, and a displeased boss to meet. You took a deep breath and pushed the door open. Captain Hayes looked about as rested as you, although he at least had the fortune of holding a full cup of coffee. His salt and pepper hair was in disarray, you noted. The man always brushed it with his fingers whenever he was stressed. That meant something did not go as he planned. A consistency to admire, you thought. After the captain forced you into the position and left you with an empty promise of a partner, it should not be a surprise that yet another plan of his tanked. "Ah, you're here. Good," he said absently. and waved at you to close the door. You did and sat in the chair normally reserved for guests as Hayes made himself comfortable in your usual spot. He looked you up and down, not even bothering with pleasantries. You look like shit. Take a deep breath. Be professional. Don't get fired for assaulting the captain. But if he's stressed enough to speak like this, something must have gone really bad. You didn't exactly like Hayes, but you could understand his job was a stressful one, and pleasantries were something far down on his priority list. As for his lack of filter, well, some people were just like that, and you didn't let that bother you. Captain had a rough morning, as did you, and while he had no right to insult you, you saw no point in harboring animosity toward it. Yeah, there's really no point in that. Everything all right, sir? You asked sincerely. Hayes looked up at you, obviously surprised by your reaction. Am I a dick normally? For a second, a flash of guilt was on his face before he looked down at his coffee again. Yeah, had a rough morning. Nothing you have to worry about, kid. He sighed, rubbing his temples. You will be getting this partner after all. Really? He sounded almost apologetic. You tilted your head. Is it not a good thing? You will have less work on your plate, sir, and the town will have more help, you said gently as the captain took a sip of his coffee. I'm not sure about the less work part, kid, he mumbled. What? The door to your office opened suddenly and so violently the handle left a dent in the wall. Hayes had no reaction at all besides a barely audible, "For fuck's sake, we just had it painted," as he rubbed his temples. In the door stood a person, man, woman. Huh. So, if I'm picking, because I have no idea if I'm picking my love interest right now, because the game did mention romance. I am personally a lesbian, as clearly shown by my entire bit being that I flirt with digital women, but also my very, very nice pride flag. Happy Pride Month, everybody, by the way. It's probably late by the time this video is going up. So I'm gonna choose a woman because I'm only attracted to women. So, in the door stood a woman wearing a leather jacket. Oh, I'm weak already. Oh, I do love a lady in leather. There's not even pictures. What is wrong with me? Okay, a woman wearing a leather jacket, fingerless gloves, and high-heeled boots. She looked about as happy to be here as Hayes was. Okay, cool. I'm already thirsty. Detective Lortnock, you've decided to join us. Captain's voice was probably more appropriate for a funeral than an introduction of you and your partner. Well, I didn't read it like that, but okay. The woman moved her deep green eyes, looking at you with cold distance. You couldn't help but feel a shiver down your spine when you were under her gaze. It was intense, to say the least. Aww. Oh my god, I got it bad already. That's about right. Attractive woman walks through the door and I'm just like, wow, hello. And we got some last names to go with. Okay. Well, you can also type in your own, and I'm gonna go with my own. I'm gonna type in my real last name, obviously. I'm just gonna type in my persona's last name. So that would be Marmorial. I like alliteration. So Mal Marmorial. That is me. Detective Mal Marmorial. This is Detective Carrie? One of those. Lortnock. Your partners now, Hayes announced, with his eyes focused more deeply on the cold coffee he was holding than either of you. The dark drink certainly seemed less confrontational than the two detectives he had in the small office. He looked up only for a second, right at you. You couldn't tell if his gaze was more pleading or tired. Don't make me implement a naughty corner rule. Play nice. That means not putting each other in the hot. Oh. I'm sorry. I saw naughty corner and I thought he meant like no fraternizing at work, no like romancing each other, no. He meant don't beat each other off, and my mind went right into the gutter. I'm sorry, Detective Hayes. Sir Captain Hayes. I'm sorry. Oh, his voice was void of emotion, and for good reason. You could hear a muffled snort from behind you as Lortnock moved closer. You didn't hear any steps or even movement in the room as she did it. Oh, so she moves like a cat. Good. As if I'd waste my energy on it, she hummed. As she was closer now, you could hear how growling and low her voice was. You also know the scar that was visible on her neck. It looked like it might have come from a knife. A very sharp knife. Ooh, that's worrying. Do you need some water? You asked genuinely. Someone hated your voice so much they decided to shut you up permanently. No, she's still talking. Now that's a voice I'm jealous of. Go to horny jail, me. But also this is very on brand. Where to go with that one? Because I have a thing for pretty voices. This is very on brand. Now that's a voice I'm jealous of. Hello. A glimpse of amusement showed on Kari's face as she gave you a closer look. I'm gonna go with Kari for now and hope I'm close. I'm not gonna say accurate. Now that she was standing next to you, it was easier to notice the smaller things. Complete lack of mud on her shoes, the smell of new leather of her jacket, as well as a very specific aroma. Something like a mix of sandalwood, cloves, and This woman is perfect for me. I'm sorry, I know it's like detective, into like this shit, psych horror, but I don't think you understand. Sandalwood is literally my favorite smell. This woman is perfect for me. Hello, and we're still at the prologue, which means there's more to come. Okay, unless somebody else sweeps me off my feet. Hello, Kari. All right. I'm terrible. Once you looked up, you could see your lips slowly curling into a smirk. She knows. She knows. She knows. Hayes coughed, focusing the attention on himself again. I'm sorry, is the gay too much for you, Hayes? Kari didn't bother moving her gaze from you. Not immediately. It lingered for a few seconds before she finally turned back to the captain. I'm gonna say she's interested. There wasn't a hard option there, but I think she's probably interested. Okay. Yes, well, try not to kill each other, will you? I need 2 detectives. I can't do everything alone. Groaned Hayes, taking a sip of his coffee. Lortnock crossed her arms on her chest. The expression on her face was unreadable, even to you. I guess we'll have to adapt. Judging by the tone of her voice, she was not too happy about that. But I thought you liked me already. Wait. Okay, fine. You could feel a headache coming. Hayes came to your rescue as he cleared his throat. It didn't escape your attention that Kari's brow furrowed in annoyance at the noise. Moriel, Detective Lortnock will shadow you for the day so she can learn the ropes and feel the town a bit, he said, and then paused for a moment. There were a few seconds of battle of wills between Kari and Hayes before finally the captain looked away. Why? You expected your partner to make a comment, but instead she stood in her place silently. Hayes rose from his chair, your chair, which he momentarily claimed. I don't want to hear about any incidents, all right? His eyes focused on you. What did I do? What the fuck did I do? Trouble? Me? I would never. Anyone who says otherwise is a filthy liar. A grin pushed on your lips before you could even attempt to stop it. I will be on my best behavior, Captain, you promised, although a hint of amusement in your voice was all too easy to catch, getting the mildly annoyed frown from Hayes and a head tilt from Kari. You couldn't tell if the latter's gaze was saying, this will be entertaining, or this idiot will get herself killed. Both seemed plausible enough with how little you knew about your partner so far. At least it means we can attempt to get along, you thought. It was progress, even if minimal. Hayes shook his head, most likely already regretting his decision to ever hire you. Listen, I'm the best goddamn detective in this whole goddamn town, alright? This is your fault. I need you to do something else, too, he muttered, careful to avoid both yours and Kari's eyes. I need you to go by the house. Huh? Kari raised an eyebrow, but did not say a word. Whatever question she had, she kept it to herself. You, however, suspected exactly what house the captain referred to. Deadwood may have a haunted reputation, but locals feared only one specific structure, and avoided it if possible. The Amuart? I don't know how to say that. That house? Why, Captain, do you not have the phone number for it? Hayes shot you a murderous glare. Go there, get the kid, and come back. That's an order, detective. You flinched. His voice was sharp enough to cut through steel. Kari moved her eyes to you, cocking an eyebrow in a silent question. I don't know anything about a kid, but fair enough. You didn't exactly have a choice in the matter. You could hardly refuse an order from the captain. You shrugged your shoulders at Kari and stood up from the chair. Very well. If that is all, Captain, it is. Go, and don't forget about the house. You nodded and made a step to take your leave. Kari blocked your path as she stood by the door, arms crossed on her chest. She made no move to let you pass. You raised an eyebrow. Do you mind? The annoyance in your voice was not intentional, but you had a feeling Lortnock would hardly take it as an excuse, as her eyes threw daggers at you. You half expected her to punch you or throw an insult at you, or just make a generic annoyed growl. Roar. Instead, she just said, "What are you?" You blinked, confused. Excuse me? Kari did not look like she was joking, not in the slightest. "What are you?" she asked again. A woman? Am I gonna get misgendered? Please no. I already have to deal with that as like a fucking kid and like a little bit in high school. Come on. Don't misgender me. I'm confused. Kari made a disgruntled noise, grimacing at you. That is not what I asked you. I asked you what are... Leave the poor woman alone, Gortnock, will you? Hayes interrupted, earning a low growl from Kari. She studied your face for a moment, looking for something, before finally turning around and walking out the door. Do I not look human? Okay, this just got more interesting. You blinked, genuinely confused by the whole interaction. Then again, someone weird like Gortnock would fit in just fine in Deadwood. You let out a deep breath and walked out after her. As soon as you did, you could see Quinn working at their desk. Their face lit up as they saw you walk out of your office and excitedly waved their hand at you. Their forest green hair was in complete disarray, and you could see an imprint of a marker on their cheek, which honestly should not come to you as a surprise. Their desk was colored in colorful pens, sticky notes, and today, it lacked any fidget spinners or squishy things, so they must have taken to messing their hair instead to busy their hands. Aw, does Quinn have ADHD? Because that's usually what that means, like fidget toys, that's usually what that's for. Aw, yay. Detective Memorial! They exclaimed, rising from their chairs, smiling wide at you. Kari shot you a questioning look, freezing in her spot. You shrugged your arms and turned to Quinn, offering them a warm expression. Officer, what can I help you with? You asked, watching as they made their way to you. Oh, nothing really. I wanted to help you, actually, they said. You blinked, genuinely surprised. I heard you're going to House Armoire. Now, where did you hear that? Anyway, and I figured you could use this. They ignored your question, seems pretty on brand, and handed you a small pouch filled with something. When you opened it, you saw dried sage and a little plastic bag of salt. Your brows furrowed. For ghosts? You guessed. Quinn's smile widened as they nodded excitedly. Better to be safe than sorry. Well, thank you, Quinn. That was very thoughtful. The officer's cheeks reddened slightly. Oh, no need. Just want you to be safe, detective, that's all. You couldn't help but smile at the concern of the young kid. It was truly heartwarming. Oh, I hope that's just an embarrassed blush, kiddo, because I don't think we're gonna go that route. Like... I don't think so, mate. I'm sorry, but you seem lovely. You bid them goodbye and walked back to your partner. What was that about? She asked. You showed her the gift. For ghosts? The speed at which she guessed the purpose of it made you pause. Well, yes. Town's superstitious that way, you explained. Kari stared at you for a second more, or two, before finally giving you a short nod and turning to walk towards the exit. And off you go. You half expected Kari to argue with you about how you'd move around Deadwood, since she owned a motorcycle, but she slid into the passenger seat of your car without any comments or snarls. The only thing you could complain about was how hard she shut the door, nearly taking it off. What did my car do to you? You blurted out, but Kari gave no answer, glaring at you instead. It was still fairly early in the morning, so you decided not to push it, not when you had hours of spending time together still ahead of you. Lady, I was attracted to you at first. But you just constantly glaring at me is decidedly not sexy. What the fuck did I do? Okay. You shook your head and got behind the wheel. As you drove, you noticed how different Kari's posture was in comparison to how it'd been inside the station. She had her arms pressed tight around her body, digging her fists into her sides as if trying to warm her palms this way. You cocked an eyebrow. It was a chilly day, but not chilly enough to shiver in a car. Especially since Kari's clothing was somewhat adequate to the weather. Yeah, she's wearing leather. That's really good for insulation. I feel like she's gonna get mad at me if I ask her about it. Although I kinda do want to tease her a little bit. You know what? Let's tease her. Why not? She's been glaring at me all day. I'm not gonna fucking just like silently turn it up. I comfort you quietly even though you've been a dick to me all day. No. It's teasing o'clock, bitch. It is a great opportunity for that. You smirked, feeling a great opportunity for teasing her about this. She seemed so perfect, and now you found a weak spot? No way would you ever let this go. Should I perhaps offer you my jacket to make you warmer? You mused. Or give you a blanket, a comforter? Maybe we can make a quick stop and buy a heater. Kari cut your offer with a loud growl. Memorial, has anyone ever told you that your face looks really punchable? She asked. Despite the low note in her voice, hinting at the upcoming danger, her face was a perfectly still expression of neutrality. You didn't know what unnerved you more. Her smirk wavered. Not lately. Jeez, was just trying to play. Okay. Kari gave a slow nod, and just a hint of a wolfish grin creeped onto her lips. Keep talking, and I'll put some color on this pretty face of yours. You think I'm pretty? She said she's gonna punch me. And I'm just like, you think I'm pretty? He thinks I'm pretty. God, I'm too gay for this. She murmured and finally moved her green eyes away from you, focusing back on the road. You kept quiet for a moment. A short moment before you finally blurted out, I just said this, wait, hey! So you think my face is pretty? Punchable, Marmorial. Very, very punchable. Kari's sing-song voice cut you off, and a dangerous note in it told you it was best not to push your luck right now. You still call me pretty. Let's continue to drive. After a very brief tour, very brief as Kari made it quite clear that she was not going to walk around the town at this hour, just to know where the bakery or pharmacy is, you parked in front of the infamous house, the Amuart house. This is the building that's intimidating Hayes so much? Just by the tone of Kari's voice, you could tell that she was not impressed. You could hardly blame her since the home looked nothing short of ordinary. A small, old structure, painted gray and white, with the number 13 holding on to its dear life on the black wooden door. That's my favorite number! It was fate's cruel sense of humor. The most unlucky family in town lived under the number 13. That's the one, you mumbled, getting out of the car. You hadn't had the pleasure to meet the famous psychic kid that had everyone muttering silent prayers, but you'd heard the stories. The child that died by accident, and after being brought back by the EMTs, became a magnet for the wandering souls of the dead, and the more sinister entities from behind the veil. Kari stood on the pavement next to you, staring down the invisible enemy in front of her. You wondered if she too felt the creeping sense of dread while being so close to the haunted house. If she did, she showed no signs of it, shrugging her shoulders. Let's just grab this kid and get on with it. Setting the feelings about your partner aside, you couldn't agree with her more at that moment. You walked to the door and knocked a few times, loudly. There was no noise coming from the other side, and no doorbell to ring either. You looked back at Kari, who gave you a glare in return. You knocked again, because, fuck you, I'm polite, mostly. As you knocked again, the number 13 hanging on the door shook, threatening to fall any second now. Still, there was no answer, and for a moment you considered the possibility that the owner was simply not home before a string of muffled curse words came from behind the door. Amuart was definitely inside then. Kari walked up to stand next to you with a stormy look on her face. This is ridiculous, she growled out, then pounded her fist on the door. The poor number 13 hit the ground and the door nearly fell off its hinges. I can hear you, genius! Open the goddamn door before I do it for you! You stared at Kari in disbelief. She looked at you, hostility clear on her face. What, Memorial? Got something to say? She asked. For just a moment you thought you were in a fever dream as you stared at your partner in utter disbelief. You can't just do that. Say that. Both. You let out finally in a voice a bit higher than you'd intended. Kari's brows furrowed as she gave you a long, stern look. You felt as if you were back in school, trying to fight with a teacher who just had a baseless grudge against you. Try and stop me, Memorial, she said in a perfectly calm voice. It unnerved you how fast she could shut down all of her emotions, just to let it come back out like a bomb going off without warning. Go on, I'll wait. I will even handcuff myself so you'll have a chance, she dared, staring right into your dark chocolate eyes. Before either of you could do or say anything more, a loud noise came from behind the door. It sounded suspiciously like someone walking into a glass cabinet. Fuck, I'm coming, don't get blood on my porch. A muffled voice spoke up from inside the house. Finally. Yeah, cause I'm not just gonna fucking let her do that. Like, yeah, she's pretty. Doesn't mean she gets to get away with shit. When the door opened, you saw... I don't know why I'm allowed to choose so many Am I picking my lineup for romance? Because if that's the case, it's gonna be all women. It's literally gonna be all women if I'm just picking my fucking romance log. I think I'm gonna go with Kari for right now. So we'll have this one be a man, have a little variety in our cast of characters, but I guess in the future I'll choose more women if I'm choosing my lineup here, because I don't know. I'm leaning towards Kari, but she's also doing some kind of shady things. I would need to know more about her first. So we see a man in a band t-shirt that was clearly too big for him and a long sleeve shirt under it. And oh god, I don't know what centimeters are. What is this in feet? I'm very short, so it's probably gonna be had to look up slightly, but I gotta check anyway. Yep. I guess I'm 152.4 centimeters, which translates to 5 even. So, I had to look up slightly, because I'm short. You showed the man your credentials, although from the bored look he gave you, you could guess he did not even glance at your ID. What have I ever done to you? He asked with a tired expression. You blinked, thrown off. Excuse me? You heard me. Kari behind you barely held back a snicker, clearly amused by how much the man seemed to not care about who you were and why you were at his house. It's 9 a.m. Why did you assault my door at this ungodly hour? Or Moriel, do you need me to hold your hand through your job? Listen, Kari, as much as I would like to hold your hand at a later date, not in this patronizing-ass way, you fucking dick. Kari's comment at least sparked some kind of reaction on the man's face. It looked almost like amusement. He was amused. I did not go into work today thinking I'd be bullied by my partner and a psychic, you muttered, rubbing your temples. For a second, you wondered if this is what Hayes feels like, whenever he has to deal with this sort of thing. Morgan Amarart, I assume? Unfortunately, answered the monotone voice. I told your boss that I have the day off, he added, although there was no dangerous note in his voice. Wait, so this is probably the kid grown up then? Huh, okay. Kari leaned against the doorway, crossing her arms over her chest, watching you with curiosity. You sighed. Your expertise is needed, I'm afraid. Morgan looked not even a tiny bit surprised and just sighed heavily. Of course. New corpse dropped, so the psychic has to be called, he mumbled, going back inside the house. After a moment of hesitation and exchanging glasses with Lortnock, you decided to follow him. The interior looked more accurate to what your imagination had created. Everything was toned down in colors, mostly shades of gray and black. Dust covered most of the furniture, and cobwebs were thick in the corners of the ceiling. No lights were lit, no windows were open. The air inside the house was quite stuffy, and you had to suppress a cough. That didn't surprise you. What did was everything else. You could see several dirty dishes standing on the table, in the sink, and on the counters. Empty plastic bottles laying near the trash can, and clothes piled on chairs in a complete mess. The couch resembled a nest with how many blankets and pillows were on it. A noise between a snarl and a whine escaped Kari's lips as her eyes stalked Morgan's small figure. For a moment you thought Lortnock was just angry as always, maybe unhappy about the mess, but soon you recognized the emotion on Kari's face. It was worry. If Lortnock was worried, then you probably should be too. Morgan? He called out as Amart continued to walk all over the house, gathering a curious collection of things and shoving each of them inside a tattered bag. I'm getting my things. Don't hurry me. The honest exhaustion in Morgan's voice was impossible to miss. You know what? We're gonna talk to our partner, or at least try to. You gonna bite my head off? Care to share? He turned to Kari. She seemed to clearly know something or notice something that you missed. Maybe it annoyed you slightly that she did not volunteer the information and kept it to herself, or maybe you were just angry at yourself for not being able to notice more. Either way, you were not able to disguise the hint of annoyance in your voice as you spoke. Care to share? Kari's green eyes threw daggers at you. She turned to face you. No, I do not, she snapped, physically moving away from you. Raise your hands and surrender, not digging further. Whatever it was that worried Lortnock, it was not worth getting punched in the face. All right, I have everything. Where's the roadkill? Morgan's monotone voice forced your attention back to him. He now had a pale blue hoodie on and a bag hanging from his arm. Kari's brows furrowed as she looked Amuar up and down. You realize it's cold outside, yes? I'm dead inside. Nice, edgelord. The cold never bothered me anyway. Sorry, I had to. Morgan quipped back immediately. Something in the tone of his voice told you he wasn't joking. Lortnock looked conflicted for a second, as if fighting with herself, before finally letting out his snarl and turning back to march toward the car. Morgan followed you out, barely keeping his eyes open. A teddy bear, isn't she? He mused. You have no idea. Kari glared at you both from the car. Thanks, babe. Can you two hurry up? Her eye twitched angrily as she tapped her fingers on the hood of your car. I would rather get somewhere inside. You could understand why, remembering how she reacted to the cold in the car. Morgan, however, did not seem to give a single shit and chose to eye your car cautiously. That car itself is responsible for global warming, he mumbled, kicking at the tire. You grimaced, feeling hurt on behalf of your vehicle. It was old and repaired more times than you could count. And it did break down randomly at the most inconvenient moments, but it was still your car. Until it posed a direct threat to public health, you were not going to get rid of it. Don't bully my car, she's sensitive. She? Morgan looked at you with wide eyes, his lips twitching in some attempt at a smile. Oh, you named it, didn't you? You're one of those. You shifted your weight, arching an eyebrow. One of what? Morgan's smile would look better in a horror movie with how forced and strained it was. A woman who treats her car like a spouse. Hey! 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 I don't even have a car IRL, but I probably would name it. Shut up! He clarified, pointing a finger at you accusingly. You let out a deep breath, averting your eyes. Kari stared at between the two of you, possibly deciding who to murder first and in what specific, gruesome way to do it. I do not, and Buttercup is too old for me anyway. Morgan looked ready to double down in a fit of laughter, but frozen still, as if any action indicating positive emotions brought him physical pain. The car's name is Buttercup, he repeated slowly, nodding his head. Kari threw her hands in the air. For fuck's sake, both of you, get in the damn tin can before I hotwire it, she threatened. You put your hands up in surrender, again, sitting behind the wheel. Lortnock took the passenger seat next to you, and Morgan got onto the seats behind you. Well, I'm glad I sort of made Morgan laugh, but Jesus, Kari, you're making it really hard for me to re-like you again. Put the seatbelt on. Kari shot Amour a glare, not turning away until the psychic sighed heavily, and did as he was told. You started the engine and drove off to the station. All right, back at the station again. The drive back to the station was significantly calmer than one would expect. Morgan decided to take a nap with head pressed into the car door, and Kari made it her personal mission to keep the atmosphere tense between the two of you. She didn't look at you, and that's probably what made it so obvious. Her eyes were dead set on the road before you, no matter if it was completely empty and unappealing. Even once you parked, Lortnock kept quiet, apart from a low grunt as she opened the door. The sound of it being closed so violently woke up Morgan, who yawned loudly. Oh joy, are we at the cage yet? He asked, rubbing his eyes. Your brows furrowed. The cage? Morgan nodded, stretching his back. The cage, the boys' club, glorified Wild West roleplay, take your pick. He mused, with little to no emotion behind his voice. It was chilling how detached he was. And again, wouldn't you, if you had ghosts contacting you at any given hour, any given day? Hayes asked for you. Morgan's lips pressed into a thin line. No one truly liked Captain Hayes. Let's get going. Begrudgingly, Amuart followed you inside the station, pulling the hood of his clothes hard enough to distort his face from anyone nearby. Kari was busy at the coffee machine, you noticed, stirring a fresh cup. The door to the captain's office was closed, but there was a slim possibility he was just waiting for you. Still, you could use the extra minutes to talk with Morgan and learn more about him, or go to your partner and pester them with a few questions. I am fucking pestering Kari, because it seems that Morgan and I are already kind of familiar-ish with each other, and I just want to bother Kari some more. I will need to know more about this Kari if we will work together, you thought to myself. Those are the correct words. Your dark chocolate eyes landed on your partner's silhouette. Her face remained perfectly blank as she ignored the stares of the other officers at the station. They gawked, of course, not too subtle about the attention they paid to your partner. After all, Kari was attractive, aesthetically at the very least. Her scar seemed like the only imperfection if you didn't count the abrasive attitude. I mean, scars are kind of sexy, I'm not gonna lie. Oh, this woman has yelled at me, but goddamn, she is gorgeous. There's no pictures, but I'm already picturing somebody. Oh my goodness, this is unfair. Hesitantly, you walk towards her, already feeling the intense stare burning holes into your person. Listen, I feel like there's more to her than meets the eye, and I gotta know more. What do you want, Memorial? She asked, not bothering to hide the clear annoyance at your very existence. Your brows furrowed. Why the hostility? Why the talking? Her quick response almost made you trip mid-step. Well, you started, digging your hands into the pocket of your clothes. Maybe I'd like to actually know something about the woman I'm working with. She grimaced at your words. For a second, you thought she might crush the cup of coffee in her hands. Listen. Her hoarse voice broke the silence. I work alone, kitten. I do not make exceptions. Not for you, not for anyone else. Huh. Kitten, huh? Focus, she's being me! I am weak for a powerful woman. Okay. Huh. Something in her tone made your skin crawl. Similar to when you had to talk someone down, someone erratic with a loaded weapon in hand. Like every word might escalate the situation further, or can lead to a peaceful resolution. Escalate the situation. Hayes made us partners. That means whether we like it or not, we have to be able to work together sometimes. That would be easier if we had more information on each other, no? Kari's eyes lightened up, fixated on you. She did not interrupt you, and so you took it as a sign to continue. Question for a question. What do you say? She remained quiet for a while. She didn't look ready to strangle you, which was progress. And finally, she groaned, leaning against the wall. Yes, you called me kitten, which means clearly you think I'm cute. I know how this shit works. You think I'm cute, and you don't want to admit it. And I'm fucking adorable, so suffer. Fine. Ask your damn question, Marmorial, she muttered, lifting the cup of coffee to her lips. Alright, we're not gonna fucking joker her. Actually, she might be proud of this scar. Something kind of gives me the vibe that she's proud of her scars. So, yeah, we'll ask the Joker question. How'd you get that scar on your neck? You asked, pointing at the scar in question. People's and Kari's eyes became dangerously small, and for just a second you thought she might throw the burning coffee in your face. Wait, I thought you'd be proud of that. Wait, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Fuck you, Marmorial, she hissed through gritted teeth, before smoothly moving past you and disappearing behind a corner. Well, that could have gone better. Wait, hey, I thought you'd be proud to— I'm sorry! A voice called me! Who? Suddenly you realized that a voice called your name. A familiar one. Hayes had to be done with whatever meaning he had. Marmorial! The gruff tone sounded again, and you begrudgingly made your way to the office. As you came closer, the door just barely missed your face as someone opened it swiftly. You jumped back, instinctively covering your head. Oh, just the person I wanted to see, said a melodic tone, too close for comfort. You stared at your would-be decapitator. Again, I'm gonna assume because you're allowing me to pick the genders that you're choosing my romance lineup for me, then I guess it's all women from here on out. A smart-dressed woman stared back at you, a smug expression on her face. Okay, hello? Do I know you? You had never seen her face before, you were sure of it. Her flame-kissed hair was unique enough, as well as her outfit, which likely cost more than you could afford even after years of saving. Oh, it's one of these. Alright, here we go. I'm sorry, you are? The stranger's eyes lit up as she offered you a hand. Deepest apologies, we're not yet acquainted. Entirely my fault, I must admit, she said, her lips curling into a charming smile as her head tilted to the side. My name is Sage Rennis. A pleasure to finally meet you, detective. I mean, oh, we have options. I don't know why I keep getting shocked here, but these are like little things that I wouldn't think to like consider. I mean, personally, I don't really like physical contact unless I'm really comfortable with you, but I don't mind handshakes. Handshakes are okay, but like, that's cool that like you can pick stuff based on your feelings towards touch as well. We'll shake your hand, why not? I hope my handshake is firm because it is in real life. You shook Sage's hand. You had no issues with touch. You shook Sage's hand, and her pale brown eyes flickered with interest. Her hands were hidden by black leather gloves, yet you still felt the warmth of her embrace, especially since she grabbed onto your hand a little too tight for comfort. For a moment, she cut off your blood circulation. You are a fascinating one, aren't you, detective? She mused in a sing-song voice. But the way her head tilted, she reminded you of a cat playing with a mouse. Why is that kind of attractive, though? Oh, is she a love interest as well? Kari, if you don't start treating me better, you might have some competition here. Hello. And then her hand disappeared without a warning, as did the intensity of her gaze. You felt a presence behind you, in a safe distance, but close enough to catch the attention of the flame-kissed woman before you. Sage's previous grin melted into a safe smile. Still sharp and charming, but not as dangerous. Who the fuck is... who? Okay, somebody's behind me, apparently. I heard you got a partner, although I did not believe it. Rumors rarely prove to be true, she said, choosing every word carefully. Is Kari standing behind me? Is Kari acting possessive? Lady, you have no room to talk. You have yet to make a move. Excuse me. You know what, maybe I will get to know this flame-kissed woman better. She treats me a lot better than you do, fucking weirdo over there. Okay, let's fucking go. You couldn't help but notice just how perfect she looked. Not in the traditional sense. She just reminded you more of the statues from museums than a human being, of flesh and blood. There was a magnetic pull radiating from her. You could barely think straight. Well, I wasn't doing that to begin with, because I'm not straight, but... You know what? Maybe we swing for Flame Lady. Maybe we swing for Flame Lady, because she's nicer to me! I hope we will have an opportunity to talk in a more private setting soon, Detective, she said, pulling a corner of her lip just slightly upwards. With the sound of her cane tapping against the floor, she left, but not before Kari shot her a deathly glare. It was more aggressive than you might expect, even from Lortnock. Kari, you have no right. Kari, you have no fucking right. Excuse you. You know what? Just to piss you off, we will meet in a more private setting soon, Sage. We fucking will. Fucking Kari, come inside, you baby. Come inside, will you? Captain's voice reminded you suddenly why you stood outside his office in the first place. Hayes looked more tired than before and more skittish. His hair was a complete ruin and he lost his tie somewhere. Get the kid and the Lortnock in here, he commanded, quickly busying himself with some papers on his desk. You nodded curtly before inviting Morgan and Kari inside with a gesture. The latter looked ready to bolt in the opposite direction, while Amarat had the expression more appropriate for a person on death row. Morgan was the first to break the silence as the three of you sat in front of Hayes' desk. Where's the corpse, Salty? I'd rather get this over with. His voice was as monotone as ever. Hayes licked his lips, looking at him like a deer caught in headlights. The corpse. Yes, later. I need you to take a look at this first. He rambled, fumbling with a set of papers. He didn't know whether the display worried you or annoyed you. It was rare to see the captain this disorganized when there were people watching. For fuck's sake, just light your damn cigarette. Kari's growl surprised all of you but Hayes the most. He blinked, stunned, his mouth moving, but no sound coming out of them. How did you? The walls reek of smoke, and so do you. Take a mint once in a while. Hayes flinched at the harshness of Kari's words but didn't deny them. You raised your eyebrows, shocked. You didn't know the captain smoked. You never noticed him with cigarettes, and you didn't smell anything. Morgan looked ready to protest, but eventually just groaned and pressed a hand over his nose. Hesitantly, Hayes lit up a cigarette, visibly relaxing. What's all this about, Captain? And how would I not smell smoke? Is Kari inhuman? Or is whatever I am, because at this point I don't think I'm human, is whatever I am just have a bad sense of smell? What's this all about, Captain? You asked, brows furrowing. Hayes grabbed a hold of a folder and passed it to you. Just by the case numbers, you recognized them as random unalivements from the last few years. Kari looked at you for answers, to which you shrugged, as confused as she was. Morgan seemed bored out of his mind. Hayes took a drag from his cigarette. Those deaths were not self-inflicted, he said, voice grim. You looked up at him, feeling a sense of dread come over you. We've had an active serial killer in Deadwood for years, and we didn't fucking notice. Chapter 1. Okay, that was a very long prologue, but that really, oh my goodness. That was so well written. I want to continue with this. This is a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a short visual novel, but clearly it's a text-based adventure, and it's much longer than I thought it was. I think this is going to be our Saturday series for a little bit, or at least as long as it lasts. Well, first day on the job, and we've already got a couple of love interests, although if Kari don't start acting right, I would have to start running straight on over to Sage, but I'm very intrigued. I love all of this, from the premise to the in-depth customization. I love this. So we're gonna pick this up with chapter 1 next Saturday, so be sure to subscribe if you want to see the next episode of this. But thank you so much, whoever happens to be watching this. Comment, subscribe, really does help me out. And until next time, bye. Oh, I'm excited. Oh, I'm very excited.